We'll break that down. As you can see, lots to get to today. We're going to get into the president election in just a minute. But first, we have Adriana Kuhn with us today. She is running for a school board spot. We're going to introduce her now. Let her tell you who she is, what spot she's running for, and welcome to Cancel This for the first time. We're grateful that you come in with compliments saying that Cancel This is getting a lot of traction. So thank you for coming in saying that.
It's true. Everybody kept saying you have to get on Cancel This. So I've been working really hard with Lizzy, and thank you so much for having me on.
Tell everybody what you're running for and where you're from.
All right. I'm from St. Charles County. I'm from Defiance, actually. And I'm very defiant. So that's pretty interesting. That's appropriate. I know. I love it. Every single time. I love it. I'm running for the Francis Howell School Board. I started getting involved in 2020 whenever the schools were, hemming and hawing over opening for in-person learning in September of 2020. And I went to the school board. I fought. I emailed all the directors. I emailed the superintendent, and I kept going every single month because it was just such a stressful time for all of us parents there. We didn't know if the next month the school was going to decide to close down for in-person learning. And one reason I really started to get involved, it wasn't even just for my kids. It was because I thought, we need to show that schools can stay open for all of these school districts in St. Louis County who have such harder situations, like stay-at-home moms and people out here. That's easier for us. But when you are a single parent and you have 2 jobs and then all of your kids are at home, like what happened in St. Louis County, my heart just broke for them. And I thought, well, we can set an example and we can show the entire area that it's possible. So I started to get involved then, and it wasn't a really good time for me to run because my youngest was just a little young and I couldn't leave the house with her.
How old are your children?
Okay, so both of my kids started in Francis Howell in kindergarten, which is really cool. So I've seen the whole process. My oldest is now in 9th grade and my youngest is in 5th grade. So 3 years ago, she couldn't stay at home alone. Now she's 11 and I'm able to have more flexibility to come out and not only campaign, but I want to be there for really devote myself to the time that I'm on the board. And that's going to take a lot. So it's a better time for me. Already my children are feeling it. My youngest especially. She says, Mom, you're not at home as much. But I tell her I'm doing this for her. I'm doing this for her education, and it's worth it.
What do you want to do if you make the board? What is it that needs to be done? What do you feel as if you can bring to this situation?
Great question. So I have a background in finance. I am a previous stockbroker, and currently I have a small business that I run. There's multiple things, but I'll just start with fiscal responsibility because we all saw what happened with Francis Howell North. We had this huge approval for Prop S, and then the 79 million school, or it was about 80 million that it was originally approved for. It went over 79 million. So now our school, it's not even finished, and we're at roughly, 160, something like that. And we don't know exactly how much it'll be because it's not done yet. But all those funds from Prop S, they're being taken away from other areas in our district for Francis Howell North. And Francis Howell North was only 30 years old. That school was only 30 years old. I just talked to a student there and he said, and this is a student and it's his opinion, but he's like, we needed a new roof. The roof was leaking. We don't need to, just to demolish that school is going to be so expensive. And this cannot happen. We have to have more fiscal responsibility. And I understand that the previous board, they were built with a lot of educators. The NEA pushed a lot of these people in on the board, but guess what? We need a diverse school board that has experience in finance, that has experience in all these other areas, because really our $280 million budget, we're almost a corporation. This is a business and we need to run it properly. Yes. $280 million. We need people who understand finance, who understand, like, another thing that I can bring to the board. I really care about improving academic standards. And it was weird when I started taking on this role of running. I knew I had, I am a small business owner. I have a background in finance. I'm a mother and I have 2 kids in the district. So I really have a lot of assets I'm bringing, but some things that I didn't realize, I have a degree in psychology and I didn't really think about all the aspects. On the surface. You can just see that and oh, well, mental health is so important. And I agree. But there's other aspects with my psychology degree that are really going to help. A lot of people don't understand you have to have a lot of statistics and
especially
you have to have
council meetings.
Right.
Yeah. School board
True.
meetings.
And the compromise and understanding all of that. But when you get your degree in psychology, there's a lot of statistics and research classes you have to take. And not only that, I was part of a research team for 3 years while I was getting my degree. And why that's important is because I think we need to really move to data-based information for our academics. And a lot of people can't look at research reports. One thing that I can do is look at research reports, make sure that it's done validly, the research is done validly. I was trained in all of that. And I think we need to move towards increasing our academic standards with data-based solutions. We have mountains of empirical data from Francis Howell School District that we're not utilizing. And I'd really like to make sure that we have to improve our academics. I just got sent some stuff about our academics declining in the past since 2020. And we thought 2021 was going to be our low spot. And guess what? It's not. We keep declining. And that has to stop. So
what do you feel as if there are some issues with people who are on the board right now or a superintendent? Because the superintendent runs the board, right? Am I wrong?
Yes, and the superintendent is newer. So I think a lot of these problems...
I'm just wondering what the dynamic is there, because from what I've heard, it's not unlike many school boards across America.
Right now, our school board is strong and getting stronger, but we just started to get conservative people implemented in our schools. Before that, it was mainly built of educators, which there's nothing wrong with having an educator voice on the board, but actually the entire administration is built of educators. So they're already advising us. What we really need is a board full of citizens who bring all types of other professional experience to the table so that we can run the district properly, because it is a business. It is. Unfortunately, we don't want it to be a business, but it is. And we have to run it and make choices that benefit our kids across the board. And we're already getting enough input from all of the administration who have all their doctorates in education, all of them. So it's...
Lizzy, I'd vote for Adriana if I was over there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we need just from the sheer fact that you're a former stockbroker and have a psychology degree.
Thank you.
What a great combination. And you're one of the first people in recent history that is talking about that. My mom used to fight the fight at Francis Howell years ago. And back then, you're still talking about the exact same problems she was talking about in the 80s, and no one really fixed them. Tearing down buildings and building new ones when they're only 30 years old, and misallocating money here and there. That's been going back since the 80s. Yes. And now people that maybe it's because of what happened with the pandemic, as I call, but parents woke up and saw exactly what's going on, and they're not letting just the educators. And I'm an educator. I even worked in Francis Howell many years ago.
That's awesome.
And so I get that. But the problem is educators aren't always the best business people. So I'm glad to hear that someone like yourself is trying to fight the good fight.
Yes. And we've been talking to teachers, and it is mind-blowing and sad what they have to go through and how they don't feel like they can even speak out. And I understand that, because even in a corporate environment, when you're at work, you have to silence your voice a little bit, unfortunately. And they're afraid because there are so many other powers that are controlling the narrative. If they even speak out publicly and show their support for us, they're afraid of what's going to happen.
Yeah, they're afraid of being canceled. And that's why we do this show, so that people feel more empowered to be able to speak truth without feeling like they're going to have consequences thrown on them. In your case, by school board unions.
Yes. And that's one thing I've been wanting to talk about. And it's a long kind of situation about the unions. Is it okay if I talk about that for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, our opponents are endorsed by the NEA, and like even right here, I have this ad that says paid for by the Missouri NEA, and it's our opponents. And we're getting a lot of flack for saying, hey, the NEA is coming out with resolutions and making statements that we don't agree with. And the majority of Americans and citizens in our community don't agree with. That doesn't mean we're against the teachers. We all know as adults that, okay, Starbucks can come out with something and make a statement, and we're not going to go and yell at the people making our coffee. Okay. And we're not going to, I know the teachers aren't even voting on these resolutions. They're voted at the, national conferences, at the Missouri conferences. There's a very small handful of people that are voting on these from our actual area.
That's why I don't get angry at teachers.
No,
I feel sorry for teachers.
and they're not pushing any of this. They are only doing what our policy dictates, and our administration is telling them to do, and then they're stuck with it. And these teachers are upset. And I wanted to talk about some of these resolutions.
Before you talk about the resolutions, who's giving you flack?
Opponents, and
what does flack mean?
This is interesting. Okay, it's the exact same people that were at the board meetings in 2020, the exact same 5 to 10 heads of the local NEA.
Right.
They were the same ones that were trying to keep our schools closed. One had a sign up that I took a picture of this and posted it on Facebook back then, and I felt bad about it because I don't know. I just wanted for people to see what was going on at the school boards. It said, "We will not die for babysitting your kids is not worth dying for." Okay, that's what it said, and that's the mentality back then. And I couldn't believe it, that it's a very small percentage of people who are the head of the local NEA and involved in the local NEA, like 5 people, 5 to 10 people, the same people that are at the board meetings holding up signs when we're trying to talk about the bathroom policy, how we don't want boys in the girls' bathroom. Same exact people when we wanted to remove the Southern Poverty Law Center standards and curriculum that are pushed at Francis Howell. They were being
But do they have power?
They have power for some reason,
And who empowers them? A superintendent?
It's a hard question. It is because we do negotiate with them as a district, and I think it's kind of.
You mean the board does? If you're on the board, or who negotiates?
The district negotiates teacher contracts, and then we are the final arbiters and approve it. But I think it's hard to understand how these very small minority of people have gotten so much power.
Well, and it's, to me, I know the president of the union.
Yes.
She literally graduated with me.
Wow.
And so literally from way back.
Is that the president of the Missouri NEA?
No, it's of the Francis Howell union.
Yes.
The union. And I don't know if she's still being paid, but she worked a long time to make that a paid position. Where in most school districts, it's not a paid position. And then I understand that some parents fought, and she's no longer getting paid, but she still somehow is getting kickbacks. She is someone that is so far, and you're probably not getting into the politics of it, but this is someone that is so far to the left that you really wonder, and I don't mean to say this to be mean, that you honestly wonder if she needs some psychiatric help. I mean, it's that big that you're dealing with there. I mean, and I've known her back from the 80s. People questioned that then. And no one, until people like you are standing up to her, because she's a bully, and she was a bully then, she's a bully now, and she's okay with boys in your girls' bathroom.
Yes.
She's okay with you still to this day having a mask on. And one of our listeners reported to me that they're next door neighbors with her. And during that period of time, she, as an adult, as a 50 some odd woman, would stand on the trampoline and scream at all the neighbors' kids as she's jumping up and down with a mask on. I saw pictures of it. So this is what we're dealing with at our school boards. This is what you're fighting.
Yes. And we've been that's why teachers are afraid to really speak out whenever they don't want certain gender ideologies pushed in the classroom.
But don't you feel there's power in numbers, or is
there is? But I think it's just this status quo. I wanted to mention what you were saying about,
and then we'll let you get back to your sheet because we had you get it. I didn't want you to forget that.
When you're talking about the paid position, the paid release teaching position for the president of the NEA. Yes, we removed that at Francis Howell. We were one of the only districts that still had that. A handful of years ago, we removed it. Last year, someone who was running for the board came out with, I think it was video that showed her demanding for her endorsement, for the NEA endorsement for this candidate, demanding that he support and try to reinstate that paid position where it would be a release position where she wouldn't be teaching. And it's like, okay, that doesn't represent the teachers. That's not helping the teachers for you not to endorse a good candidate because you only want to make sure you have a paid position.
It's true. We're talking with Adriana Kuhn. She's running for a school board position at Francis Howell School District. If you could, real quick, tell us what you wanted to tell us, because we have a few more minutes left with you when it comes to what you needed to bring forward when we were talking about some of these situations.
Okay, so our opponents are endorsed by the NEA, and these are some things that the NEA quotes that they want. Educators must acknowledge the existence of white supremacy culture. Okay.
What?
This and
oh my God, that's number one.
And these are resolutions, which it's not just a statement they're making. A resolution is when you resolve to take actions to push this on to make it happen.
I was in a good mood.
This is a resolution. This is what they want to happen. And whenever you say, "Oh no, that's not happening in our schools," look at the past school board meetings. See the signs they hold up that say whitewashing. Why are they holding that up? Because from above, there's agendas being pushed in our schools. Okay, here's another thing. Ensure that all transgender students have access to the bathroom or locker room of their choice. I do not support that.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of privacy and safety issues with that. There is so much going on with that. And we as a society, our community does not support that.
And this is the NEA. So these are probably policies that are being pushed all over America.
And Missouri. Yes. And our local NEA, if you don't believe that they're pushing that, go back and look at board meetings, and they're the ones holding the signs pushing for it. Okay, this one I am really against it. Okay. Students should have access to gender-affirming healthcare. Well, why is the NEA, why are they telling parents what choices? And this is what they want. They want to make sure this happens. Guess what? Parents should have the choice of what healthcare we decide for our children. We are in control of our minors' healthcare. When has it become that other individuals can tell parents or should tell parents what to do? Why would they want to make sure that students have access to that? Because guess what? That's a parental decision, not the decision of the NEA. Here's another. I'll do one more. Okay. There's a list full of these. It's just, there's so many things. Do I have time for one more?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I don't know, on the radio shows, I usually have a limited amount of time, but on a podcast, I guess you get a little bit more. So, okay. Racial and social equity principles should be implemented at all levels of policy making. Now, okay, on the surface, this sounds, well, maybe that's a good thing. Guess what? 2 years ago, we had advanced classes removed for the sake of equity. Okay, this is what they're talking about when they come out with resolutions, and then this is how they're implemented. You remove advanced classes for the sake of equity.
Is that because of a financial situation?
No.
That you only have, then why would you remove an advanced class instead? Why can't you have it all?
Yeah, this is okay, so this is a debate. Okay, the old superintendent, Dr. Hoven, once conservatives started getting on the board, our new superintendent, I think he's pretty supportive of trying to work together and collaborate. Our old superintendent, he's not on the board anymore, but or not in the district anymore. But he specifically said, and it was a huge thing. He was very clear about this. We're removing these advanced classes for the sake of equity, and it was a multi-year plan. So in 2021, they removed 3 advanced classes at middle school level, and then it was a multi-year plan where they had it strategically planned to remove a lot more. Our community stepped in. We said no. We do not want this implemented at Francis Howell. They still removed those 3, haven't re-implemented them, but
I don't understand why, Adriana. Why would you want to get rid of the gifted classes, the advanced classes?
This is what they say. They say, okay, specifically with math, and I have experience with this because when this happened, my son was in 6th grade and he was taking one of these advanced classes. Okay, he was in the challenge math, which was there was regular math, math 6, challenge math, and then there was pre-algebra. Okay, and pre-algebra was really hard to get into in 6th grade. You really had to be. So he was in the middle one, and it came out that they wanted to remove this. Now he was currently in the class, so it wasn't going to affect me, but I was very upset by it because this is what they say. Well, now math 6 is going to be challenge math. We're just going to make math 6 challenge math. The problem with that is the curriculum for math 6 and challenge math was very similar. Okay.
But why? I don't understand why. Why?
Because it's not fair, Vic. It's not fair to the kids that their parents won't help them and won't push this, that these poor parents are dealing with.
It doesn't make sense.
It's not fair. It's not equitable.
This brought to you by your local NEA.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's what they say. But here's the problem in challenge math that he was in. He had to maintain a minimum grade to stay in that challenge math, or he had to get moved to math 6. Because if you don't, you slow down the class, you hurt those students, and you're hurting yourself because you're getting too far behind. Now they're saying math 6 is at the challenge math level. Well, if you don't have a requirement to maintain a grade to keep up at that fast pace, then it's not the same class.
It's the dumbing down of America. This goes all the way back. We call out the Democrats, but this goes all the way back to George Bush and his wife that did the no left behind thing.
It's the same.
Worse.
Okay.
It's the same.
How many board members are there? School board members in Francis Howell?
7.
Okay, so there's 7, and most of the things are voted on by the school. You'd have to have a 4th. You have to at least have a 4-3 margin.
Yes.
Okay. Of the current board of the 7, how does it vary out when it comes to voting on issues?
Okay. Well,
how would you break it down?
You're going to love this. Francis Howell is one of the first. I'm just going to say this is what happened. They started implementing CRT. And then that first election in 2021, we had 2 conservative people running. Both of them got elected. Then 2023, this last election, there were 3 spots open. All 3 supported by Francis Howell families who's endorsing me and who really represents the parents in this district. So right now there are 5 people. They don't all vote the same all the time at all.
But more conservative, 5?
5.
Okay.
If we get these 2, it will be 7.
Okay.
And that's unheard of in America.
And you say
Well,
that the superintendent at this point in time appears to be.
I'm
What's
happy.
the superintendent's name?
His name is Dr. Rumpus.
Okay.
Yeah. And I feel like I feel like he's doing a very good job. This is a hard environment that for the board, for the administrators, like you said, collaborating. It's almost like it's in all elected official positions. Yes, we do have diversity of thought. Even between the 3 of us, we'll have diversity of thought exactly on issues.
Well, Francis Howell better elect somebody that understands money, dollars, figures, taxes, what it means when it comes to paying off bills, or you'll be in other situations as well. That's for sure. And that's what Adriana Kuhn brings to the table on top of the psychology degree, which we talk about. Before we let you go,
Yes.
Not to say that you have to have a pitch, but on top of everything else that you said, if you want to let our viewers, our listeners know why you or candidates like you when the election comes up.
Yeah. Okay. So this is something I've been thinking about. And whenever I got that email saying, is anybody interested in running? Gosh, I really didn't want to take this on. I'm going to just be honest. This is a huge commitment. That's the thing on the school board. It's usually a lot of people who are older and retired, and it's not a lot of people our age group. But I thought I'm going to step up and see where it goes, and it just flowed into this. And now I'm sitting here today talking to you, and I really want our school board very, very strong for what is currently being thrown at us, but also what is going to be thrown at us that we don't see for in the future, because we don't know what's coming at us in the rest of this year, the next year. And we need to have people who have critical thinking skills, who don't just sign off on everything the administration puts in front of them, because that's how we got here. The board members, they don't look at those financial statements, and it's so hard if you don't have a finance background to look at a financial statement and ask critical questions. It just is. Like, I see people glaze over all the time, even at the board meetings, but then I look at it and I know exactly, okay, well, what about this or that? Or, okay, how are these bonds? There's a lot of information I know about bonds, and that's a lot of our revenue. So that's really important too. Anyways, I just want to be prepared for whatever comes at us in these next years.
No, it's a great point. Adriana, hey, did you want to give a shout out to your business while you're here too?
Yeah, it's called Kuhn Strategic Consulting, and you can find me online. I do a lot of advertising and social media work. So
That's beautiful. I love that.
yeah, thank
Adriana,
you.
thank you for taking time with us, and keep us posted. Welcome here anytime.
Thank
Let
you.
us know about stories that we need to be covering, and we're grateful for you spending some time with us today.
Thanks for giving me so much time. I loved meeting you. I really appreciate it.
Do you have a do you have a website that you run for
Yes.
this too? How can people find out more about
Yes.
your website?
You can find more about me on voteadrianakuhn.com. That's my website, and it has really clear my stances. They're laid out really clearly. And then also on Facebook, Adriana Kuhn for Francis House School Board. Go follow me, like me. I'll keep you updated.
Adriana, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thanks for coming in today.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Adriana Kuhn, love the energy, love the experience, love the education, those sorts of things. Man, I'm glad that you wanted to get Adriana on, Lizzy, because we can't hear enough about what the NEA is trying to do, not only in Missouri, but across the country in all of these situations.
Well, it's imperative. Right. Excuse me. It's imperative, because we are always talking about big things, people think, like the president and the governor and our Congress and our Senate. But our children and our grandchildren either are in public school or their friends are in public school. And we've got to get the word out about how to change it. And most of our listeners already know everything that she said, but they don't know which of the candidates are going to understand the things all the way back from the 80s are still happening today. And Francis Howell was a train wreck in the 90s and the early 2000s. But kudos to the parents. And a lot of these parents are millennials. They're taking the school boards back and making them the schools that I remember as a kid.
And we'll continue to have more school board members join us on our show. If you know of some, let us know. We'll see what we can do when it comes to that standpoint. We always try to make sure that we're talking about issues that affect the kids, issues that affect the families throughout the school districts. And it doesn't just have to be in the St. Louis Metro. It can be wherever, because if something bad is going on one place, guess what? It will be going on in other places before too long. It's just one of those paths. It's one of those things that we have seen come to fruition, unfortunately.